G'day folks, my name is Rob and welcome back for another F1 Fantasy Deadline stream. This is Saturday, October 25th, and we will be going through everything you need to know about F1 Fantasy for this upcoming qualifying session and Grand Prix tomorrow. So hope you're all doing well, hope you're looking forward to unpacking the last 3 free practice sessions of this weekend so far. And yeah, a couple of hours ahead to dive right into everything that we've learnt so far through the last 24 hours or so. So if you're new around here, you're enjoying the content as always, and you're looking forward to another deadline stream, please show the channel some love, drop a like on this stream, subscribe to the channel. I'm assuming everyone in the comments is already a subscriber because subscriber mode is currently on, but yes, great to see you all. And yeah, looking forward to the next couple hours ahead. I think we've got a lot of decisions and a lot of people in the chat. So Udo, Aaron, Crimson, Vincent, Martin, Javier, Rose, Matt, Ed, Frederick, couple of familiar faces in the chat so far. So great to have you all here. And yeah, looking forward to what we've got in store for the next couple hours. Already some really interesting questions posed by some of you guys, and I think it's going to be a pretty difficult deadline stream. I'll be completely honest. I was playing with a few combinations like 5-10 minutes ago and I don't know what I'm doing. I think you could go 3, 4, 5 different routes this weekend and I don't even know what the right one is right now given how mixed practice was, but let's see what we can pack into these next 2 hours. Udo's suggesting a wild card with Ferrari, Red Bull, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Antonelli, Sainz, and Gasly. Anti-McLaren, it feels... Look, Lando looks good. I'll give him that. Oscar does not perhaps look as confident, so I don't mind an anti-McLaren this weekend. I really don't. I think we'll see quite a few people deviate from the McLaren constructor, certainly more so than the last couple of weeks after the form that Red Bull and Mercedes have been in. Aaron's considering a -40 for Verstappen, Yuki, Antonelli, Gasly, Colapinto, Red Bull, Mercedes. The same thing that Udo's entertaining. Yeah, don't mind it at all. Definitely the most uncertain weekend, Vincent. I agree. I really hope we can all get green arrows. But yeah, Matt, great to have you here. McLaren and Ferrari, don't mind it. Don't mind it at all. Ferrari, Mercedes, or Red Bull. So Salvatore is thinking he'll go McLaren, I'm guessing, with one of those 3 as another option. And my likely moves on the bottom of the screen, Mercedes, Piastri out, Red Bull, Russell in. That was my decision before free practice. So I think I might have to change that by the time the deadline rolls around. Ed, thank you for coming through. Always great to have you here. Sammy is triple McLaren and Mercedes. Wow, that budget. That is a nice budget. That is a nice boulder. I don't even know if I can do that. I don't think I can. Oh no, I can. It would just mean Franco, which I'm not so sure I'm that keen on. But we will see. And then yeah, Sainz. I'm keeping Sainz anyway this weekend. He looks too good to part ways with for the time being. Carl, great to have you here. Yogi Bear, Krub, Lucas, how are ya? Count, great to have you back, my friend, as always. Alan, you're not wrong. A set of practices indeed, and a confusing set of practices to boot. Tyler, good afternoon, my friend. Yeah, we've got a lot to get through. I'm just going to fire off that tweet to let everyone on X, Twitter, know that I'm live streaming. Milk First Faithful in the chat. My friend Michael, once the chore is done, this will make team selections in listen mode. Nico, good to have you in the chat, my friend. Katie, Red Bull as a constructor is what she's asking. I do like it. I'm thinking about Red Bull. I think Max looks good. Yes, he looked a little shaky in practice, which let's talk practice times in just a second. But I don't hate the idea of going Red Bull this weekend. If you've watched my team selection video, because no final thoughts this week, I went down potentially the idea of a McLaren Red Bull with Verstappen and Russell, which is the suggested transfers for me. Not in the team calculator, but just in the chat. Just what kind of my pre-practice thoughts were. So definitely a Red Bull option for sure, Katie. I think the way Max is driving, absolutely. Yuki, I'm really impressed with what I've seen from Yuki because, he's driving really well, and that front wing as well, I think, serves him quite well. Where is my head at? I don't know. I really don't know. But I think, Red Bull's certainly in the mix for the highest point scorer, and Joaquin has pointed that out too. Are you keeping Sainz with the grid penalty, Emma asks? Yes, I think so. I think Sainz is a top 10 qualifier for sure. And if he ends up qualifying, somewhere between 12th and 15th, I think he can still drive forward for points and pick up a few overtakes. So I think 10 points is probably 10 to 15 points. I think is Sainz's ceiling. His floor is, I think, higher than most midfield drivers too. Much love to you, Chris, as well. Alonso destroyed a lot of people last week, Daniel. That budget loss after what looked like a pretty encouraging practice and sprint quali was, very unneeded for a lot of people. So I have all the chips. What should I use? Zach's asking. Well, we've got Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. So I think five weekends, 6 chips to use. Let's say, Zach, if I'm going to play your team, I'd probably, depending on what you've got right now, I'd probably play wildcard Mexico. No negative. Oh, you'd want to, wildcard Mexico. No negative Brazil. In Las Vegas, I'd probably go autopilot or final fix. I'd go you'd have to go 3x in Qatar and then limitless in Abu Dhabi. Because you'd probably or you go limitless in Brazil and use no negative on a non-sprint weekend, which is fine too. But 6 chips to use. You'd probably have to sacrifice final fix. I feel like that's got the least amount of upside, or maybe autopilot. Michael, my friend, thank you for coming through. Hope the trip back from Europe was nice. What a time to be away right now. It's a off season in Europe, in Paris especially. Incredible time. What would be the optimal chip strategy for the mini league? The mini league is a 3-race weekend for the George Russell mini league. So this weekend, Brazil, and then Las Vegas. I think if you've got all your chips, you've got to use to win the mini league. You've got to be in it to win it. So you'd have to go limitless in one weekend and 3x in the other. I'd probably go 3x in Brazil, limitless either here or Las Vegas, but the running order is really mixed in Mexico. So I'd probably use limitless in Vegas. And then here, no negative, I guess, to hedge against the DNFs. I feel like they're the 3 chips best to maximize your point ceiling. And then we got one more mini league later in the season. I have on very good authority, but I'm sworn to secrecy. So hopefully more news on that soon. My ranch chore is on a green tractor, not a kick salver. They look one and the same, don't they, Michael? Still on the 6A light? No, but glad to see you following me on Twitter, Daniel. I think that Williams build was a little adventurous. But not for me this weekend, I don't think. Williams, to be fair, they look good, but they don't look top 4 good. Anyone else going with zero McLaren at the moment? Let me know in the chat, because I've seen a couple of non-McLaren, anti-McLaren lineups, and I think that's going to be popular this week. Albon and McLaren or Kimi and Ferrari, please? Bird's asking. I think, I want to say Albon and McLaren. Yeah. Is Hadjar to Yuki worth downgrading McLaren to Ferrari or Mercedes? Probably. I guess it depends on how good you think. So that question was asked by Tyler. I think it depends on how good you think McLaren can be this weekend. Because if you think Lando, who I think is the favorite for the race win, him and Max for sure. If you think McLaren are going to win and Oscar's a top 4 contender, then I think McLaren easy. I think Yuki's good, but I don't think he's like more than 15 points good in fantasy this week. Yuki and Antonelli do look good though. I agree, Che. Sainz for overtakes is looking good indeed. Might do the hedge bet and go Norris, Verstappen, Alonso, Sainz, Gasly, McLaren, Ferrari, Alan suggesting. Yeah, I like that a lot, Alan. That's a nice team. Nice budget. If you can do that. Wow. I don't think I can do that. Yeah, Max definitely like the idea of a wild card. Am I debating anything Ferrari? I was thinking about Leclerc actually. Uh, do I land on that? Probably not, but I'm more confident in Leclerc than Hamilton to get the job done. So was I looking at? I think I was. God, my computer's. Oh no, we could be crashing here. My computer's really slow, or is it the website? The website. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think we're back, but this game, let me tell you. Oh dear. Oh dear. This. I think we've got technical difficulties all over the shop right now. We did well. In what was the stream before Coda? It was Singapore, right? Audio seems fine. Visuals look okay. Yeah. God, people don't come for the technical proficiency of OBS software. That's for sure. I was talking about. I don't even know what I was talking about, but there's a few questions to get through. But I think we're back. Sorry, guys. This stream is more unreliable than a Ferrari power unit. Okay, let's get back to the chat. Then we can go through free practice. Assuming, oh no, the countdown timer is not working again. Oy, oy, oy. There we go. Subscriber count. Yeah, that seems to be all right. Anyway, people, as I said, are not coming here for a functional streaming software, and I'm too lazy to change it this season. So hopefully we have some upgrades in the off season. But everything looks all right, I think, optically. So let's push ahead. Am I debating anything Ferrari? Katie asked. Yes, potentially Leclerc. Not sure about the Ferrari constructor. FX Tube's got Alonso, Bortoleto, Verstappen, Sainz, Albon, McLaren, Red Bull. Looks good to me. Am I thinking of changing to Yuki? How would you do it? Depends on the team, Tube. Oh, that's right. To get to Yuki, you'd probably have to move out Albon. That's my suggestion. Already have Tsunoda, Max, and Antonelli in teams. Feel like the play for right now with Ferrari and Red Bull. Yep, love it. We're back. Thank you, legends. We are indeed back. Lots of variants, definitely. All right, let's take a look at free practice because that's probably going to be what guides my decisions for this weekend. I'm just going to skip over FP1 because if you followed along, there were, 9 rookies and Fernando Alonso in free practice. That makes 10. So let's just, given how irrelevant that was, let's just push on to FP2. And for me, yeah, Max, unsurprisingly, a 10th and a half up on the next best in Charles. But I think the biggest surprise for me in this session was how far down the order Oscar was. I didn't see free practice yesterday, admittedly, and I only saw the second half of today's session. But I was surprised by how slow. I think they were working, if I'm not mistaken, on their long run pace. So I think Oscar was maybe not quite as fixated on single lap. But I think he would probably be somewhere close to George's time if he did kind of push. So, yeah, 30-odd laps pretty much for all of the front runners. I think in this one I was quite convinced Ferrari were looking the goods, but I'm just so uncertain by them. They've looked good sometimes and they've fallen off the pace in other times, and then kind of vice versa. They've looked terrible in practice and then delivered in qualifying in the race. So Red Bull, for me, given Yuki was 7th, was quite convincing. I was happy with how Max's single lap pace was looking as well. It's a qualifying championship this year, so quali does feel quite important. But in free practice 3, Max was a little further down the order. Now, I was watching it with about 15, 20 minutes to go, and I think there was, 10 drivers within 0.3 of one another. And then Lando banged out a bunch of fast laps along with George, and the order quickly spread out again. But I was quite convinced that qualifying could go any direction, and I still think it could. I think Lando has looked the most convincing so far on balance. I think Max is right up there with him, but there was talk, I think, in the broadcast that I'm just checking the stream hasn't, done some dirty business in his pants. It seems to be working. But Max was a little further down, but I think he was complaining, they were saying in the broadcast, that he felt more comfortable when the car was running lower fuel loads, so a single lap, which is kind of where he was delivering yesterday afternoon, but struggled when the fuel was topped up and the car was a bit heavier, not quite the balance I think he was hoping for. So I wonder if Max does well today, then finishes or qualifies in the top 3, then has kind of a bit of a struggle tomorrow, and then as soon as the fuel loads kind of deplete, that's where he kind of brings himself back into the fight. But Lando, McLaren, the long run pace looks good. I'm pretty convinced it's Lando's to lose. But again, look, let's see. So I need to try and figure out a way if I can get Lando into my team. It probably does mean a Verstappen sacrifice somewhere along the way. 316 of you watching, 40 likes, so please bump that up. But thank you again. Another Saturday stream going well so far, sans the software. Let's get to some more questions in the chat, despite the ones that were, not great. My computer is a Microsoft Surface, but I think it's probably more to do with the RAM than the computer. I could be wrong. I'm not a computer science expert. It perhaps just doesn't have the power to support a live stream, and that's probably why this stream drops so much. This computer was not intended initially when I purchased it for live streams. It was simply a means to not have to use my work laptop. But it's probably a reason why the bit rate doesn't seem to, at least what YouTube says, doesn't seem to convert to a high performing stream all the time. But look, if you don't want to listen to me and my dodgy stream, there is Ewan across the way who's also streaming for 2 hours. So I'm sure he's got plenty to talk about as well. A big fan of Ewan's channel and his loosey goosey mouth. I mean, we were talking during the week about some off-season collaboration, potentially a post cooldown or a post-race cooldown room stream on his channel. So hopefully we can make that work. But another one of the greats in the F1 fantasy community. All right, back to the chat and back to my team. I have only 115 million. What can I do? Global Killer asks. I would suggest you go to the F1 Fantasy Tools team calculator, plug in that 115 million, and that will spit out some great suggestions. But I think with that budget, you probably got to start with one of either Red Bull or McLaren, probably Red Bull just because of the price, and at least one of Norris or Verstappen, and build out the rest of the team from there. Thoughts on Red Bull, Mercedes, Verstappen, Norris, Sainz, Alonso, Gasly to hedge against the Oscar issues? Yes, I like that a lot. Nielsen, I got some catching up to do in the chat. Give me your thoughts on this, Rob. Verstappen 2X, Albon, Tsunoda, Antonelli, Bortoletto, Mercedes, Red Bull. Lots of anti-McLaren, lots of pro-Mercedes and Red Bull. I don't mind it. Are we sure, chat, that Max is a top 2, top 3 qualifier this week? Let's start a poll. First one of the stream. Who takes poll today? Norris, Verstappen, Russell, other. Avoid Hulk? Yeah, I'd probably swerve Hulk this week. Don't think you're crazy to drop McLaren at all, Meg. I don't think you are. There's a lot of people going anti-McLaren, and I don't mind it. No Tsunoda, not for me, but I do think he's a solid option this weekend. Antonelli, Tsunoda, I'm probably taking Antonelli if I'm being honest. Hi, mate. If you had Norris and Max, who do you DRS boost? I'd probably go Norris because he's lower owned. I think his production or his fantasy ceiling, I think Max is the man in form. He's got a great record here. Is it 5 of the last 7 wins? He's had it at Autodromo, Hermanos Rodriguez. I'd probably go Norris. but Ed and Merv think Max is the better 2X option. I've got more faith in McLaren than Ferrari. It's whether or not I have more faith in Oscar. Like, I think Lando's holding up his end of the bargain. Depends. Lando's to lose is a scary sentence this season. I think the race is his to lose. I don't think it's his champ. I think he's got a lot of work still to do. Still a lot of work to do to catch Oscar. A little bit of work to do, Oscar. Ewan's crying about Liverpool. Classic. Hadjar or Bortoletto? This week, I honestly have not paid attention to either of those drivers. Gut was going to say Hadjar just because he has driven better. But Bortoletto's been good. He did do better last week simply because he started at the very back in the sprint. I think typically I'd say Hadjar though. Norris pole, max top 3. Yeah, I think it's a Norris pole. What's the pole? POL, yeah, pole position, or PLL pole position, as in this is... Anyway, I'll stop with the terrible jokes. Wow, so Russell 1%, other 3%. Norris Verstappen, 96% of the vote. Wow. Okay, well, I think that's a no-brainer then, isn't it? What would I recommend for a 126.9 budget, Josh asks? I don't know. Probably, again, like anything... I think you've got to have at least one of Norris Verstappen and then 2 A-tier constructors. Like that's I think the foundations of a good team for this weekend. And yeah, Javier's got the same idea, 120 budget, but he's going for a Russell with good midfield drivers, McLaren, Mercedes. I like that a lot. How do you feel about McLaren, Mercedes? I think it's fine. Well, it's what I'm on at the moment, right? I'm not mad about it. Like that practice. So this was what, FP3, Antonelli, George. I mean, do I want to go Ferrari? I feel like it's a huge risk. Because if we look at the practice debrief, they were the 4th best on quali, and we already know Lewis has had struggles in qualifying as well this season. And then race, again, they're 4th. But it's kind of, again, not much in it between them and Mercedes. So I think if I want some Ferrari exposure, it's probably Leclerc. So anyway, I think I need to talk about my team a little bit because I don't really know what I'm doing. Colapinto or Gasly? Coin flip, Matthew. I had Colapinto in my F1 fantasy article on f1.com this week though, so have a read of that. It's on my Twitter page if you need the quick link. How do you feel about McLaren, Mercedes? Yeah, I mean, Red Bull I think is perfectly fine as well. It's probably, in my opinion, and I say this most deadline streams, one of the hardest decisions on the table this year. And I say that for a couple of reasons. The first being not just for the constructors, but you obviously have to factor in which 2 drivers, if you can afford a 4A lineup, which 2 premium drivers you want. And then to the extent you've got like a Norris Verstappen or a Verstappen Russell, like how does that affect the rest of your budget distribution? And I think not only that, you've got a 4-way fight for the constructors in F1 Fantasy. I still think McLaren can probably be the highest scoring constructor this weekend, but the scores will be compressed. So it's ultimately going to be, assuming there are like no DNFs in this assumption, I think the top 4 will probably be spread by no more than like 20 to 25 points this week. 30 points max. And then on that, you kind of also have to position your team for, assuming you don't have a wild card, if you're planning to use the 3X in Brazil, making sure that you either roll a transfer to have 3 in Brazil, or if you're only carrying 2 into that next week's deadline, the deadline in 2 weeks, confident that you've got a pretty good grounding on which 2 constructors you want to use then. And obviously practice and sprint quality dictates that to an extent, but you've got to kind of think a week ahead at the moment with the sprint races and the chips in play. So I think it is arguably probably one of the hardest weekends, and you throw in the fact that it's just not clear who the best top 2 teams are. So yeah, definitely one of the hardest at the moment. What else we got? Bortoletto driver of the day consideration for Brazil for sure. What would my wildcard team look like? I don't even know what my own team will look like. I mean, I want to say Ferrari have turned a corner, but I'm not wholly convinced of that yet. So they do look good though. Like, I think if it was Mercedes that was second and fifth yesterday, and then Mercedes that was second and fourth today, I'd not hesitate to hold them again. But it's kind of that Ferrari deceptiveness, I suppose you could call it, that makes me worry a little bit. So yeah, there's a bit to think about. So yeah, let's have a look. What we got? 66 likes and 400 watching. Radio Paddock is my number 1 hype man in the chat, I have to say. 72 likes, 436 concurrent viewers. Yeah, wow, decisions. It'd be good to, let's set a like goal of 100 in the next 20 minutes. That would be nice. Russell or Charles? I want to say Charles right now, Judicus. If I can fit Ferrari, Verstappen, Norris, should I use autopilot? Potentially, yeah. Actually, don't mind that at all. Russell, Leclerc. Lots of Russell and Leclerc in the chat. I'm going to close this poll, and do one more. Russell, because I was thinking about that. Best driver for fantasy this weekend. Start poll. Lewis complaining about potentially awful race pace doesn't surprise me, which is why I'm not excited about the constructor itself. Maybe Leclerc. So I could honestly do something like this, right? But hang on. Am I about to cook? I don't think I am. Am I cooking, chat? Could I do this? I kind of like this. Because honestly, it was in my team selection, it was either going to be... Look, I didn't really cook anything. If I cooked anything, I probably gave half of you food poisoning. But I was tinkering with something like this in team selection, and instead of Leclerc, it was Russell. And I do want a little bit of Ferrari. So maybe Charles, who was P3 the last 2 years... At pole position, was it year before last? Yeah. There's some temptation to get Charles, but I know the heartbreak will outweigh the success without a doubt. So yeah, there's potential for... Bro thinks he's cooking. I told you. I'm not cooking anything. I'm cooking toast with butter. Leclerc. Yeah, Max and Hamilton. I think I prefer Leclerc, honestly. But I think it's pretty marginal. This would be 2 transfers. It means I can roll a third to Brazil, which I think I would really like to have for the sprint. Eric's going down the Red Bull V-carb. Oh, yeah, true, man. I saw that tweet. Risky for sure, but, you know, if you want to... I just don't know, for me, I'm not tempted by running a B-tier constructor this late in the season. But I know V-carb have been on par with McLaren the last 3 weeks, which is saying something. So anyway, most people are favouring Leclerc in the chat, 58 to 42%. So I think he has the edge, but it's not by much. And we know George has just been consistent. I hate to say it, he's overdue a DNF. I hate to say it, but he has been really, really good fantasy-wise. And if we go over to F1 Fantasy Tools, I don't even have the budget builder or the stats page or the team calculator open, which I should probably start doing. I could be better prepared for this stream, I'll be honest. But in saying that, as I approach 100 likes for the video, the consistency of George Russell, the 4th row, so 4th highest scoring driver in F1 Fantasy to date, it's pretty remarkable. Like, you're not expecting him to change the world with fantasy scores, but it's that consistency that you're just not really getting from either Ferrari driver. Lewis, in fairness, has been good the last 4 weeks, but look at the score. Like, the crazy thing for me is that Leclerc is rocks or diamonds this season. He has his moments of consistency, those 20s, but then DNF, or disqualification in China, DNF in Miami, a bunch of good scores in the European leg, and then another 2, and then a couple of good scores, and then another DNF in Zandvoort when that Ferrari double DNF hit, and then Baku. So it's like, you got to take the good with the bad, and it's easy to be optimistic after how he's looked in free practice, for sure, because you know how good he is. Like, his highest score this season is higher than George Russell's highest score this season. And that was a race George won. Charles didn't even finish... Charles only finished P3, although in fairness, it was on a sprint race weekend for Charles, and he won driver of the day, where George did not. But yeah, I'm just trying to rationalize the process here and kind of the logic. The explosiveness for Charles is there. He's more popular for the fan vote as well. But I think George is the more boring but more consistent pick. So that's kind of why he's reliable. That's why a lot of people yeah, like him. Anyway, back to the chat. I'm not cooking. I'm absolutely not cooking with that lineup. But I'll put it back on screen for anyone who was remotely interested in what I have to say, which is clearly 473 of you. Mercedes seems comparable with Red Bull if Max is not first and Yuki is not top 8. True. But I guess you're right, though. Yuki has to be top 8 for Red Bull to be a top scoring constructor. Otherwise, it's kind of mid. And Yuki's qualifying struggles have been well documented this season. The problem is, like, if Yuki's out in Q2 or Q1, then Red Bull miss out on those teamwork points that I think Mercedes and Ferrari are better placed to secure. Yeah, look, I didn't mean to disrespect the toast and butter. To be fair, it's a staple of the game, a great snack. But you're not leaning on toast and butter for your daily subsistence. Rakesh is asking, thoughts on Verstappen, Leclerc, Hadjar, Alonso, Colapinto, McLaren, Red Bull. Same build to yours. Yeah, that's honestly one I'm thinking about. I do think Red Bull, for me, with the way Max is driving, feels sensible. But what about Lando? Like, am I overlooking Lando? That's the problem I have. Like, if I put Lando in, I can't. The problem is, Lando requires 3 trades. And I really want to roll one into Brazil. I really do. I don't feel like this is a week that I'm like absolutely desperate to use 3 transfers. I definitely could. But like Gasly, Sainz for sure feel like locks. If Lando wins, the McLaren probably will score the highest this week. So I'm not desperate, to move out McLaren. But unfortunately, I can't stretch to any other driver. I would actually love to have this lineup with George in the slot here. Or even Charles or Lewis, but I'm $500,000 short even for Lewis. But of course, to do something like this, to absolutely cook with this butter and bread lineup, it's Colapinto though, I'm pretty sure. That's all I can do. Yeah, so 5-9. Like I could keep Gab and then put in Fernando, but I really want Sainz this weekend. I really want Sainz. I mean, to be fair, that caps out of my budget. And I think, Fernando's losing value this week. So it will, oh no, he's not. I guess he's still got that 30 points of it. As soon as that drops off his average, it's a transfer out for me because, yeah, I'm not so sure about Fernando for me this week. I know budget is not the focus, but I almost feel like I've got a pretty good sure thing in Carlos. No, you're not going in the 2x slot. Does anyone else put their 2x drivers in the middle row? I feel like it feels so unnatural to put... it's kind of where I'm at for this week. It feels so unnatural to put your 2x driver in the middle slot. I saw that this week. Someone had 2 Alpine drivers in the top row. I was like, this feels strange. Trade Max for Lando. I mean, if you could, yeah, no stop till Brooklyn. I think you absolutely could. Driver of the day is so stupid for 10 points. 100% agree. Should be no more than 3. Second constructor for me is right now Red Bull. Like, okay. Another reason I'm inclined to go Red Bull is Max has a very good record at Brazil. I think he'll be very strong on a sprint weekend. And where was I going with this? And I fully expect Yuki to continue to be in the mix next week as well. So I'm almost like inadvertently planning ahead for this too. It's easy to get out with 3 transfers the following week. I could do like bang bang, like in 3 moves next week. It would have to be Mercedes though. That's the problem. Sorry. And then like cash the Sainz rise. See, the thing is Ferrari really inhibits you with making other moves. Like you could do Russell, right? Or Charles. Like, where does that leave me though? Like, I don't have much flexibility if I'm with Ferrari. And I'm not like fully convinced they're like past their gremlins. I know, I just feel like Red Bull seem like a safer play. And I say that now, and Max or Yuki will DNF tomorrow and it will all be for nothing. But I just think the couple extra million more, the consistency you're getting, assuming Yuki is, in the mix. Look at that. Like, since Silverstone, which was Horner's last race, they've been really good. Really, really good, especially the last three. So I don't know. It's more just like that security of a points floor than trying to go for like over explosiveness fantasy wise. I'm not even sure if that really makes sense. I'm not trying to chase upside too much, but I say that with Leclerc, who has more upside than Russell IMO. All right, back to the chat. I put my assets in price order. That's valid. That's valid. If I'm second in my fast lap and the person, my mini league, and the person above me has max 2x, what about switching Max for Lando? Yeah, Sig Bear, I think that's a nice differential approach. Nico's asking, what do you think? Verstappen, Russell, or Leclerc, Behrman, Lawson, Colapinto, or Gasly, McLaren, Mercedes? For sure, they all look good. Behrman, I think great. High overtake track, best overtake fantasy asset at the moment. Lawson's the only one I haven't really given any thought to, but again, I don't think it's the end of the world. Hang on. What's going on here? Leclerc, yeah, he's the favorite for many people over Russell. So, yeah, 550 of you watching. Awesome. 114 likes. If I followed the Ewan rule of like 50% of likes to viewers, I'd be well out of contention. That'd be like Q1 exit, but I'm not going to beg. I've already begged a bunch of times so far this stream, and we're only 36 minutes in. Are we forgetting about the budget upswings with our decision? For sure. I think we absolutely are. But like the other thing to consider is on the budget builder, only one driver has a price rise threshold of 0 or less, which is Sonoda. I think Yuki is good. I think he absolutely gets that 0.6 rise this weekend. And he'll have another reason to go up again in Brazil because he's got that 37 for the next 2 races. So I think Yuki's definitely a next 2 race hold if you own him, the way he's driving at the moment. But yeah, it's a tricky one. And I say it more like in the sense that because the thresholds for a max rise are much higher than usual, we probably won't see many people going up more than like 2.5 million at most this weekend. I'd say less. Like it's common to see rises of 1.5 to 2 nowadays, because even like the likes of Williams are in the A tier. I'm a little concerned about Alonso. Yeah, I'm not super excited about him either. If you've got a final fix still, I would just be using it as an extra transfer at this point. I just don't think it's possible to really predict an outcome like we saw in Azerbaijan with Piastri. And so if you're like trying to roll a transfer, carry 3 into like the next deadline, then I would just use final fix as an extra transfer because it's obviously at no cost to your team when you activate it. But yeah, it's I think an interesting one because I think I would use it now at this point to just plan ahead and give myself an extra transfer, 5 transfers instead of 4 or 6 instead of 5 type thing. Jeremy, great to have you in the chat, my friend. Hope it's not too early for you because it's about 6:30 in Sydney, so it would be what, like 8:30, 9:30 a.m. for you. Mercedes and Sonoda or Ferrari and Lawson. I lost a lot of budget. I'd probably go Mercedes Sonoda. If you're trying to recoup budget, Mercedes Sonoda for sure. Limitless for Brazil or Qatar? Limitless for Qatar in my opinion. Although what did I say before? I'd say limitless for Qatar because it's a sprint weekend, so more points on the table. But Qatar is also not the easiest track to overtake at. It's pretty like medium to high speed corners, so you're never really going to get a dive bomb in, I think, unless is it turn 1? I don't know the track layout that well on F1, like the F1 game. But it's very hard to sneak dive bombs in. And we know how important it is to use the chip at low overtake tracks. So I would think like if it's a sprint weekend and it's hard to overtake, like that's kind of overpowered in my opinion. So I'd probably go limitless in Qatar over Brazil and save, if you can use a no negative or an autopilot next week in Brazil, then do that. What do you think about Norris, Sonoda, Sainz, Lawson, Gasly, McLaren, Mercedes? Dennis asks. I think it's fine. Yeah. Lots of reliable midfielders. How important is pole in Mexico? Well, I think it's important. I think pole position this year is especially important. I don't think it's a deal breaker, though. I don't think it's a deal breaker. There's plenty of overtaking zones, so yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world if they don't get a good launch off the line, whoever the pole sitter is. Hadjar or Lawson? Hadjar. P3 in Mexico is good for qualifying. Russ is a decent hold. Probably, yeah. Simon's asking if there's a play with VCarb if you can't afford Verstappen, Leclerc, McLaren, Red Bull. Well, just ask Eric in the chat. I know he's entertaining VCarb. I think it's fine. I think it's a budget builder. Like, that's at this point what you're using VCarb for, as a budget building asset. I don't think you're going to get more than 20 to 30 points out of them this weekend. So just kind of be mindful of that. I think the upside is always, I think the points is always going to be better with two premium constructors and a Russell, for instance, than like a Norris, McLaren VCarb type thing. McLaren, Antonelli, or Ferrari, Leclerc at -20. McLaren, Antonelli. Why signs this week? 5-place grid penalty, so more positions to gain and overtakes. Rob, current team is Verstappen, Russell, Colapinto, Sainz, Gasly, McLaren, Mercedes. Considering dropping McLaren for Red Bull and an Alpine for a budget riser like Lawson. Thoughts? Sounds good to me, Jimmy. Think it sounds good to me. Just, yeah, I guess McLaren's success is based on Piastri. Red Bull's success is based on Tsunoda. But I think, again, prioritize points over budget at this point. 840 in New Zealand. Okay. Ferrari, Red Bull? Question mark, asks Benji. 2x Max, Tsunoda, Leclerc. Are you asking me for my opinion on all those assets in your team? I think that looks good to me. Wonder if I should go Leclerc and Gasly or breaking down Leclerc's budget to go Antonelli and Yuki. I think I prefer Leclerc, Gasly. 11, Evan? Matthew Lewis is going Verstappen and who? Should I drop Hadjar or Alonso? I think Alonso. What did Isaac was kind of competitive, wasn't he, in practice? Oh dear. Yeah. He was P8 today. How did he look yesterday? 14th. Alonso was 8th yesterday. Didn't he drop down a bit? I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I still think Hadjar is kind of my gut feel. Where's my water bottle? Did I? 1 second. I thought I. Got to stay hydrated, ladies and gentlemen. My vocal cords are getting an absolute working 45 minutes in. All right. So, let me do something first. Change that. Pop that up there. Pop that up there. And I think we're chefing. We are chefing. All right. Hang on. Oh no, Robert. All right. Let me slide this over here. Pop that there. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're cooking again. 482 viewers. We've ebbed and flowed over the last couple of hours, but we're doing all right. I bet there's Modest Cowboy Racing. I would strongly disagree with that comment. I guarantee you there are. I think there was, I mean, there's so many returning people in the chat. Cheryl, Ali, Kate, I think was asking a question before. All right, I got some catching up to do. Top left always on the 2x placement. Yes, maybe final fix for this race. Samuel asks potentially for the potentially on, you know, how quality goes, of course. Hard to say before. Lando's car is better suited to Brazil. Potentially, yeah. Top row B tiers is worse than Cyril first. Yeah, no doubt. I'm about 5 minutes behind in the chat. I know that. What about a final fix if you don't want a -10? Absolutely viable. Ferrari is a trap. Fair. He needs 20 for Max Rise. Taking months ago. What's your is Alonso a write-off? No. I've answered some of these and I haven't for others. I have final fix available. I feel like it's the weekend to use it, but yeah, it depends on quality. Samuel. Ali's on 132 with Verstappen, Russell, McLaren, Mercedes, and can't get to Ferrari Red Bull without giving up a top driver. Thoughts? 3 transfers. No, I don't know if I'd sacrifice. Yeah, because I guess, Ali, then you'd have to drop. Yeah, you'd have to drop Russell to Antonelli, wouldn't you? I'm not sure I like that move. Antonelli, to be fair, he did look good. Was it free practice 2? He's what, 7th today? Yeah, 3rd yesterday. So I honestly feel it's quite a mixed, quite a mixed order. It's going to be tricky to get the right outcome this weekend, which is why I'm inclined just to stick with McLaren because yes, of course, Oscar is a variable, but I know Lando will be in the mix. I know Max will be in the mix. They're like the certainties. They're the things that I can hang my hat on and say Lando will be in the mix for a win. Max will be in the mix for a win. Piastri, I think, is still a top 5 contender. Easy. So, yeah, I'm trying to remove the variables, and that's kind of why I'm landing on something like this at the moment. I answered that. Thoughts on Swayer is asking Piastri, Verstappen, Gasly, Sainz, Bortoleto, McLaren, and Kick 120. I'd probably steer away from Kick. I'd almost be, if you're going a B tier, V carb or Williams. Well, Williams is now an A tier. I'd say probably I'd say a V carb over a Kick this weekend. Natty is asking, what do you think for differential? Differential drivers, A tier or B tier? I think 2x Lando Norris, best A tier differential. Best differential in the midfield is probably Hadjar at the moment. And best differential constructor, I think, will probably be Mercedes. I think. You could do for a light. Oh, sorry. Eric's talking to someone in the chat, not me. Michael's asking Norris Russell or Max Russell. Great question. I can't get to. I mean, I could do this, couldn't I? No, I can't. That's right. We talked about this before. I can't get to. I'd go Norris Russell. If you can afford it, definitely Norris Russell. I mean, even still, though, like Max. I think Lando, though, like, to get Lando, I have to keep Mercedes. That's the thing. I could do this. I guess I could do this, right? I could do that. It's probably my two. Yeah, that's probably where I'm at right now. It's Norris Leclerc Mercedes or Verstappen. Norris Mercedes or Verstappen Red Bull. Tricky. Opinions on Sonoda. Sonoda is good, but he won't fit into my plans for this week. 10 million is a lot of money to accommodate. You're probably, if you're going Sonoda, you're probably not able to afford another A-tier driver. That's all I'm saying. Like I'm seeing some teams go like Antonelli Sonoda instead of Leclerc Sainz or something like that. So it could work, but not for me. Yeah, Rebecca, Christine, showing. Yeah, repping the female representation in the chat. We'd love to see it. You're right, Modest Cowboy. You're all good. I'm pretty. I mean, I will say it's such a great sign to see so many more women playing F1 fantasy the last season or so, because it's naturally. I think fantasy sports are very like male dominated. I think a lot of men take a lot of interest in fantasy sports. But it is really encouraging to see so many more women joining and playing F1 fantasy. And, you know, Rebecca engages with me on Twitter very often. Ali, Christine, I think, was it Natty, they're all in the chat. So, yeah, great to see, you know, a much bigger contingent of women playing F1 fantasy. It's really good for the game, I think. He didn't say anything wrong, Count. He didn't say anything wrong. Hey, Rob, what would you say between Red Bull and Ferrari paired with Mercedes? Kenway's asking. I'd probably go Red Bull. Opinions on Sonoda, ask that. Follow up on Michael Wells. If I go Norris Russell versus Verstappen Russell, I have to have 2 Alpines. I'd probably go Norris Russell in any case, yeah. You're so fine, mate. You're so fine. Best wildcard build less than 130 million. I don't know, Sunil. I'd probably say something like this, but then skimp on McLaren to Red Bull. Something like this, maybe. What was that noise? I got some catching up to do again. I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background. Cheryl is asking, thoughts on Verstappen, Leclerc, Bortoleto, Alonso one of the Alpines, McLaren, Mercedes for 132. I like it, Cheryl. Big fan. Big fan. Triple Red Bull, ballsy, Joe. Very ballsy. I think 2 is enough for me this week. Thoughts on final fix? I'd use it potentially as like an extra transfer. Simon's asking Gasly Colapinto. Gasly. Oh, well, I'm saying Gasly because I don't think you would... Don't like burn a transfer on one of the Alpine drivers for the other. I just think if you've got one of the 4.5s, you hold the other. My budget, I think it's about 134, 135. Let's go to the team calculator. 136. Oh, wow. It's higher than I thought it was. And my suggested transfers this week are Piastri and Mercedes out. Oh, sorry, Antonelli. Yeah, see, that's the suggested transfer route. I don't love it, to be honest. I don't like it at all. Because, yeah, I don't like that at all. I think I'd prefer to have 2 premiums. I'm going to, for the purposes of my team, exclude Kimi and Yuki. Even though I do think they're both very good assets for low-budget teams, I'd probably... Yeah, so, yeah, Ferrari driver seems to be the consensus. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, I mean, without looking at the sims, that was kind of my gut feel. So, yeah, don't mind it. Happy to stick for another week. Verstappen, Leclerc, McLaren, Mercedes. Sims asking, yeah, like that a lot, Sim. MD is saying Norris, Russell, McLaren, Mercedes. Yeah, I think that's fine too. Alonso car update. I don't know. Is there an update on Alonso? I'm just checking on the other screen for... Just checking audio works, but it looks good. Otherwise, there'd be uproar in the chat. No. There's nothing I can see on Fernando Alonso so far. But keep me posted in the chat. No, I'm up to speed on the chat now. Count, because yeah. I swear I'm up to speed on the chat now. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm close. Ryan Cheeseman's going Ferrari or Red Bull with Leclerc as 2x. Probably go... If you're confident Ferrari will do well, then definitely Ferrari. But I think Red Bull... I back Red Bull more than I back Ferrari this weekend. Agreed. To be fair, the amount of women in the F1 fan base is generally more than people would expect from the outside looking in. It's nice to see. Completely agree with that statement. I have 3 transfers and I have Max, Piastri, Bortoleto, Sainz, Alonso, McLaren, Williams. Do you have any advice? I'd probably drop Piastri to upgrade Williams to like a Mercedes and then maybe Antonelli, Snivens. I don't know what your budget is, but that's my gut reaction to that team. Mercedes, Red Bull, worth it or roll a transfer? I mean, I'm doing it. Oh, I guess because I have one spare. Yeah, I'd say it's tricky. See, I think with the simulations, we got 1 hour to go until the stream. Until the deadline locks, and we're getting close to that 9,500 subscriber goal as well, which is exciting to see. The channel has really taken off this season, which is great. I think back to your question, Jan Peter Holmberg. I think if you back Max, it comes down to whether or not you think Max is in it to the win, and if Yuki finishes top 7, then yes, I think it's worth it. And Max is good in Brazil. You're almost, I'd say, arguably, you're getting ahead, like 1 week ahead of a transfer. I think Red Bull will be good next week too. So, yeah, I think Mercedes to Red Bull is definitely worth it. Sainz or Alonso? Sainz. Max was P5 and FP1 in Coda. Don't sleep on Max winning a Mexico. I definitely am not sleeping on Max at all. Anyone that's sleeping on Max... Rose Street, have a great weekend. Triple Red Bull, I like it a lot because you do like to live dangerously. See you next time, and yeah, good luck with your team this weekend, Rose. That's a fun build. I'm not gonna do this, but let's see what what can I do? What does a triple Red Bull lineup look like for me, right? It probably requires a bit of surgery, which again doesn't make sense for my team because it would be probably hits. But that would be for me something like this. Otherwise, if it's not Gasly, you just swap out, the equivalent of like a Bortoletto. But like I don't mind that. I just think Tsunoda and Antonelli are kind of mired within like P5 to P8. But if Antonelli was, maybe like this team would have been pretty good last week. I'll be honest. Aside from obviously, but I say pretty good. McLaren's in there. Couldn't have been that good. 22 points. Yeah, I think it's fine. I'm not sure. You have to be confident Red Bull are to triple up on a team. You really want to be certain that they're scoring. Both drivers are finishing inside the top 5. I don't think Tsunoda quite has that in him at the moment. So yeah, if the deadline was in 3 minutes instead of 1 hour and 3 minutes, I'd probably be doing this. Now that's a line. Oh, the triple Red Bull. Now that's a lineup. Yeah. Opinion on no McLaren, Luke is asking. I think it's fine. I think certainly for teams under like 130, you've got more. You're probably inhibited a bit by the 35 million price tag for McLaren. So I think it's for lower budget teams. There's probably other options to consider. Whereas I think high budget teams, because you can stretch to a 4A lineup with McLaren, there's probably more of an inclination to go that route. George or Charles, Slaney's asking. I'm on Charles right now, but I think it's pretty close. I like George for his consistency though. 132 is awkward, to be fair, because that's like 4 million, right? You're kind of not able to... You're kind of stuck. Yeah, 132 is a bit awkward, isn't it? Because you can afford a 4A, but you're stuck with Mercedes. Or you'd have to downgrade McLaren and get Red Bull in. So it's an awkward one. I completely agree with that. Jazz. Best wildcard team, 128. I'd probably go no McLaren in that case. Eric, you're right. That triple Red Bull lineup definitely had a higher projected points, which is why I had to exclude it. I'm well aware. I had to exclude Kimi and Yuki. It's simply because Kimi is producing at pretty much the same level that Russell and Hamilton are at 8 million, 7 million less. So I see why the Sims are favoring that. Keep an eye on Fantasy Tools because they might do an FP3. Eric, keeping me honest though, I will say, thoughts on taking one transfer for Russell to Leclerc or also get Alonso out for someone else? I'd hold Alonso probably. Karan, sorry. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. Roll a transfer to Brazil if you can. Is the chat? Yeah, it is. I'm just checking. Mercedes or McLaren? McLaren. Neville's asking, Leclerc, Gasly, Mercedes or Antonelli, Bortoletto, Ferrari? It's tricky. Probably... That's a tough one. I say Gasly, Bortoletto are pretty even. I think it's a coin flip, frankly. I do. I really do. 1 hour out. 1 hour out from the deadline, creeping up to 600 viewers. Getting close to the subscriber goal of 9,500, which I'd love to hit by the end of the year. So if you want to help me out, that would be amazing. What would you say is a decent budget right now, Rob? I would say 132 is awkward. I can't remember who said that in the chat a moment ago, but it is It's probably anything above 130 is perfectly fine, but like I say, good in the sense of to afford a 2 premium driver lineup with, 2 of the 3 highest price constructors. I think 134, 135 is probably sound. I'd say 133, 134 is probably about average for a lot of teams. Torn between Red Bull Antonelli and Mercedes George. I'd probably go Mercedes George Jennifer, but it's so tight. I'm not really being convincing with my answers because I'm not even convinced who the second best constructor is after McLaren this weekend. Is changing Verstappen to Norris worth a -10? I wouldn't say so, not on a non-sprint. Kimi and Yuki are valuable from a PPM's perspective. Absolutely. I mean, that's former world number 1 Andrew saying that. I agree completely with that assertion. But I also expect I also expect Yuki and Antonelli to have a much lower floor than someone like a Russell or a Leclerc. If the thing is though, if Yuki and Antonelli are producing scores of 15 to 20 points, then without a doubt they are much better to have. It's much better to have both than it would be to have like a Leclerc or a Russell. The other consideration for my team especially though is because I plan to use the autopilot in Brazil, subject to what the weather is, it would be 2 transfers out. Theoretically speaking, if I wanted, let's just say I do this, right? I mean, technically I could also upgrade this. I plan to use autopilot. I don't want to use autopilot on these 2 guys. I could do that in 3 transfers this week, right? I could technically do 2 in, like, what's this? Like, I could do Russell and Hadjar next weekend, assuming price changes. That's probably more of an autopilot lineup, but you're not really planning to have Tsunoda and Antonelli in your team on an autopilot, in my opinion. Which is why I'm inclined for my team to just stick with Leclerc and maybe play a little bit of the Ferrari upside. But I so see the point, and that's kind of backed in the simulations that Antonelli, Tsunoda are favourable points-wise and budget-wise too, because they're B-tier assets. Okay. McLaren will be a tough decision for price going forward, Will. Definitely. I think you'll see it quite... So, like, elite data, like, what have we got? McLaren are 98% owned. I would expect that number to come down to the 80s this week. I'd be surprised if it was any lower, just because of the way Lando's driving. But I definitely think some engaged managers will start to pivot away from McLaren in favor of more value for money, PPM focused assets, like Andrew's called out in the chat. All right, a few more questions to get through. Triggering the limitless chip, Ivo's suggesting, looks good. It's just, Russell or Charles? I'm on Charles right now, but it's really line ball decision. Mercedes Antonelli or Red Bull Albon? Mercedes Antonelli. Oh. No, can I change that? Maria? Maybe Red Bull Albon? Yeah, it depends on Mercedes. Like if Antonelli is competing for the top 5, then I'm backing Mercedes Antonelli. But if Max wins and Yuki is top 6, top 7, then I'm probably going Red Bull Albon. I think I answered that question, Maria. I'm seeing quite a few Las Vegas autopilot, Andrew's suggesting. Yeah, I don't mind that either. I mean, autopilot I think is probably better on a non-sprint, right? Unless it's raining. Because there's one less scoring session to claw back. a points deficit, right? I mean, I don't know if the logic actually even makes any sense. But like theoretically speaking, Piastri DNF'd last week, right? But then had the Grand Prix to make up that deficit the following day. But you don't have another session of scoring if you DNF in one racing session to kind of make that delta up. So the delta, or the difference between the two A-tier drivers, is going to largely be bigger with just one racing session, or at least that's kind of how my brain works. I don't think I'm not a statistician. I'm not an actuary. So whether or not the logic actually makes any sense, I don't know. But I agree, non-sprint seem to be good for autopilot too. Have I missed Team 2 picks, Rob? Yeah, I will do that for you, William, because my Team 2, which I put probably 30 seconds of thought into every week, is currently ranked inside the top 500. Yeah, inside the top 300. So these are my three ranks. So Team 2, again, like I'm literally, that's the thing, like with fantasy, it's like you look at your Team 2s and 3s, you just make changes on a whim. You don't put any thought, or you put some thought, but you're not thinking about it for hours and hours. So if I went to my Team 2, I've made 2 transfers. I don't even know what I had last week. I think I brought Lando in and I took out McLaren. So was it Piastri? It was Piastri. Yeah. Piastri and I don't know if it's the right decision, but I just made that with 30 seconds of thought. Yeah, it was Piastri and McLaren out and Norris and Red Bull in. Team 3 is again a bit of a mess. But anyway, back to my main team. 175 likes, 500 of you watching, and we've got 53 minutes until the deadline for the Mexico City Grand Prix. So yeah, let's get that subscriber count up. Let's get that like count up. But we're having a great hour so far. Sans the stream collapsing more than Oscar Piastri over the last 3 weeks. What we got don't tell me. Sims are out. 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 I saw a notification come through on my phone and I was like, oh dear, we could be on one. Oh. Did I not just chef? I actually did cook. I'm not even joking. I did cook. I had this before the Sims and boom, Sims. No, I'm not going to toot my own horn here. But yeah, wow. A couple of big movers. Red Bull's now on par with Mercedes. Ferrari, sorry. And I probably wouldn't. Should I go Hadjar or Lawson? I probably could. Because with Bordeaux in my team, the budget upsides, I kind of did cook with that team. Yeah, I did cook. I kind of cooked before the Sims. I'm not going to deny that. But I got some questions to catch up on. Sorry, people. Cheryl's asking 3x chip for Mexico or keep it. I've still got limitless wildcard autopilot and 3x. So no, don't use 3x in Mexico, Cheryl. I would save your 3x and your limitless for the Qatar and Brazil sprint weekends. The wildcard I would consider using either now or in Vegas. And then autopilot I would use in Vegas probably, or in the last race of the season if you want to have a punt. Triple Red Bull or triple Mercedes doesn't sound bad. It doesn't. Anti-McLaren though, Edgar. It's ballsy. How about a Merc and a Red Bull? Don't mind it, Jaden. I think it is. I think it is probably. Again, tough to deviate from McLaren without taking on a bit of risk. But yeah, Mercedes or Ferrari, which one is better to have assets of? I'm leaning towards Ferrari, but I don't think I'm that confident in it being an objectively better decision. Why is Max a lot if he didn't do great in free practice? Because he looked good yesterday in free practice. He's got a great record here, and there have been many times this season where Max has not really been all that great and turned it around in the race. He also had, I said this earlier on the stream, he was running a high fuel load, which he didn't love, but as soon as he put low fuel in the car, he was banging out purple sectors. So I'm pretty confident Max will be good in quali. I chose Mercedes and Behrman, dropped Ferrari and Gasly. Carol says it. I think that's fine. Behrman's going to be good here, I think. Thoughts on Mercedes Sonoda or Red Bull Bortoleto? Red Bull Bortoleto, but that's because that's what I'm on Wesley. Signs a hold for points and likely drop in value. Points is, I mean, isn't Signs also... Oh, yeah, that's right. He will probably go down in value for sure. So, kind of have to... I think he'll scrape 7 points with that grid penalty. But I'd back Williams to do well here because it is a high overtake track and they're a superior midfield car to the rest of the field. So if Sainz is starting further back, I'm confident he can move up the field a bit. Oh no. Screen's gone black. Oh no. It happened again. It happened again. Chat, did the stream just get cooked? All right. Lawson or Bortoleto? Nahal's asking. Lawson. Swap Red Bull for Ferrari, potentially, but I think I like Red Bull more with Max. There's more certainty there. I have 10-8 in the bank. I'm not the GOAT. 10-8 left in the bank. Who do I pick from? Ashley, that depends on who you've got. Can you please answer me this? Joe Sherwin is asking. I've had 3 transfers. If I make this week, will I get 3 for the next race? Correct, Joe. Sims release Leclerc 56 chance for a 0.3 rise. Yes. A lot of Norris for the high budget teams, maybe. You reckon no negative Brazil, 3x Qatar? Yeah, 100% for that count. Bortoleto is nice to keep, surely. Yeah, I think so. Natty is suggesting Verstappen, Russell, Lawson, Alonso, Sainz, and Ferrari, Mercedes, and rolling a transfer. Big fan of that, Natty. Or Nutty, sorry if I've mispronounced. Jeremy is asking, my Canadian/Kiwi ally, Verstappen, Antonelli, or Piastri, Russell? Verstappen, Antonelli, just because of the 2x. Yeah, I'd say for the 2x. Can you talk about Limitless and 3x with the remaining races? Yes, let me get to that in a second. I just want to get through a few more questions. Stream is fine. Something happened, but it dropped. Anyway, like I said, people don't come for the stream quality. People come for the opinion quality, or at least I would like to think so. Getting closer to 9,500 subs. 9,500 subs. Modern technology. I think I'm just living in the Stone Age with this laptop. Maybe I do need to upgrade my laptop, but I've only had it for a year and a half. So maybe it just needs more RAM. Norris over Verstappen this weekend, for sure. For sure. Yeah, but my budget won't allow it, regrettably. I'd have to get Mercedes in to do that, which I'm not super keen about. I'm curious to hear, for those of you watching, Adam and Ewan streaming, where their heads are at, if you've got 2 monitors up and running. Because I obviously don't listen to them while I stream. And the last few weeks, I mean, Ewan and I talk pretty regularly, but we've had some deviation over the last couple of weeks with strategy. And I only see their teams when I look on Twitter after the deadline. I'm not usually like going through what other people post. I try to avoid letting that influence my decision. As much as I like the Sims to help me, it's not usually going to be other people. Although, to be fair, I also speak to a couple of other people in the community every so often just to bounce ideas off them. But yeah, someone asked 3x and Limitless. You've got to play both, I think, at the next couple of sprint race weekends. That's probably the best use of the chips. There's not really another low overtake non-sprint weekend for the Limitless, so I would just say use the heavy hitting chips on the sprints. Sainz or Alonso? Sainz. I feel like Sainz at his price, even though he may not go up in price this weekend, is going to be a good hold in a car that is clearing the midfield. Like him and Albon are a cut above the rest of the midfield, in my opinion. Hadjar's probably there as well. And then beyond that, there's not really much to rival them. They will struggle at Qatar, I think Carlos was saying, but beyond that, I think there's lots of opportunity for him to do well. And watch my preseason predictions on YouTube. I had Sainz as a flop for this season, which I still stand by because he went down in price, 18 races in a row or something. But he's turned a corner, and in the mid-season, one of my mid-season videos, I said Sainz will bounce back in the second half of the year, and he's very much proving that so far. Leclerc for Sainz or Alonso? Sainz. G'day. Want to run a differential on league leader? Max, Leclerc, Sainz, Alonso, Colapinto, Red Bull, Ferrari. Yeah, it's a differential for sure. Definitely. Half come for the content, the other half come for the vibes, the third half comes for both. That's funny. Indeed. And some come to shit on Spurs, but not saying any names. I don't worry. Spurs are rocks and diamonds. Who are they playing this weekend? Everton, I think. Yeah, that won't be. I mean, actually, I haven't even followed the Prem today, so I need to catch up on my fantasy, my FPL. Chip for this race depends on how many you've got. I'm probably going to mess this name up. Piaget. Sorry if I've said that wrong. Depends on what chips you have available, but not Limitless or 3X this weekend. Colin Hamilton. So would you ever consider a Mercedes, Red Bull, Max and Lando team? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Not for me, but I think it's very viable for sure. If I use 2 of 3 free transfers and use Final Fix, how many transfers will I have next week? You'll have 3 next week, Neo. Final Fix does not dip into your roll or total transfers. Would you pick Gasly or Colapinto? Gasly for the reliability, Colapinto for the price rise. Did Triple Red Bull look good? I think so. I think I like them for lower budget lineups, but I'm not sure for me. It's not what I want to run. And makes it difficult for me to move into an autopilot to premium driver lineup as well. Good idea for autopilot this week for sure. Not the 3X though. Alonso or Hadjar? It's a tricky one. I don't know what I said before. I don't want to misconstrue what advice I'm giving some people and then forgetting what I'm saying. And then I think it's very close. I'd say Hadjar probably. I hope I don't have a poll still going, do I? Sonoda or Antonelli, please? Gents asking. Antonelli. Is wildcard best for today or another race? I have no Limitless or Final Fix. Yeah, play the wildcard. If you're taking hits, I think setting your team up for a sprint Brazil or use it in Brazil. If you're planning to use the 3X in Brazil, then I would use wildcard this weekend. Jimmy's asking, torn between rolling a transfer in Brazil or holding McLaren Mercedes and 2 Alpines or swapping McLaren for Red Bull and dropping an Alpine driver. I think the luck with running double Alpine will probably run out soon. I don't know what it will be like this weekend, but I'm concerned. Yeah, I noticed last weekend a couple people running double Alpine. Again, budget building, is it a focus as much now? Probably not, but the budget for teams that had Gasly and Colapinto in Coda were probably at least 0.6 to a mil down on the non-double Alpines. I saw a couple other questions that I missed. I'm running back to get them. Rob, do you know what happened with Tom, Pop Pan Man? Is he okay? I don't really know the full picture. I do know that Tom, I think, is just dealing with some things in his personal life, which has meant F1 fantasy content has been deprioritized. I don't know what they are, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't. It's not my place to share. So I hope he's fine. I haven't spoken to him in a few weeks. I was planning to reach out to him last week, but I'll do that this week. But yeah, everyone is, whatever it is he's going through or dealing with, I think everyone's sending positive vibes his way. So yeah, I hope he's well. We do miss him because he's a staple of the F1 fantasy community, but I'm sure he'll be back soon enough. Hopefully before the end of the year. But yeah, sending Tom nothing but good vibes. McLaren and Red Bull constructors with Tsunoda or Antonelli. I would go Antonelli, gent, with McLaren Red Bull. Hans is asking Verstappen, Antonelli, or Piastri, Leclerc. Oh, probably Verstappen, Antonelli. Do you recommend using 3x this race and Limitless in Qatar? I would use 3x in Brazil and Limitless in Qatar. Good week for final fix. Let's see what qualifying has in store for us. I think, Jimmy, I answered your question. Yeah, Spurs are away at Everton. It won't be an easy game. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate the love. Sainz, Hamilton, or Alonso, Leclerc for budget reasons? For budget reasons, probably Alonso, Leclerc. That's my gut. What does the budget builder say? Yeah, I would say Alonso, Leclerc, because also Leclerc has the lowest threshold. So yeah, definitely. Sunderland beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Oh, I did see a headline for that. Oh dear. Pour one out for the Chelsea fans in the chat. Get both Alpine drivers to slot in Red Bull instead of Mercedes. Tricky. I just don't think you want to run Alpine duo indefinitely. It's just Red Bull or Ferrari. I'm on Red Bull right now. Behrman or Hadjar. Hadjar, but Behrman will be good. I think it's, again, close. Mercedes or Red Bull. Red Bull or Ferrari, Red Bull. I think I've convinced myself Red Bull is, hence why I've got them in my team this week, probably second best right now. I'd back Yuki for another good week. I really do. I'd love to see him like top 5 at some point. Fingers crossed. It's this weekend. I will send Tom his the best. Yes, I absolutely will. Absolutely will. Signs or Lawson's. Signs. The camera is out of sync with the audio. If it is, try refreshing. I hope it's not. Did I say Red Bull versus Ferrari? I said Red Bull, but I think it's close. The Sims also say it's very close. I hope the audio is not out of sync with the video, but if it is, there's probably other streams to watch like you and Adam. Isn't Brazil a bit risky using the 3X? For sure, but you want to use it on a sprint weekend to maximize the points upside. It would be risky if it's raining. So in that case, yeah. If it's raining, then I would maybe consider saving the 3X for the Qatar sprint and then using Limitless on a non-sprint weekend. What are the low overtake tracks between now and the end of the year? Not Mexico, not Abu Dhabi, not Vegas. Like, we're running out of races. Yeah, it's not ideal. It fixed itself. Yeah, look, the stream is absolute dog's breakfast. Miguel, great to have you here, man. Better late than never indeed. Max Roscoe is stuck choosing between 2 AT constructors and 2 AT drivers. Always go 2 AT constructors. Always 2 AT constructors. More points than 2 AT drivers. Cooper is saying small budget. Would Red Bull and Mercedes for constructors work? Absolutely. I think for smaller budgets, you probably have to discount McLaren because of their price. Matt Garrett, I can't remember if I answered your question. I'm currently Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Gasly, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes. 3 transfers and a budget of 131. I think that's fine. Is my stream crashing still? I don't think it is, but when I'm looking on the other screen, I think I just need more RAM. Matt, sorry, back to your team. What are your thoughts on possible changes? Probably take out Piastri. The rest of the team look decent. Can you get into like a max somehow? Probably not, right? Probably not with that team. Yeah, it'd be hard to stretch to max. You want to be confident, Oscars, you're 2x, because I'm not seeing that. It's a tough one. I would maybe consider downgrading McLaren in that case, Matt, to Red Bull, and then upgrading Piastri to Verstappen or Norris. Jaden, Mercedes, Red Bull, Max and Russell looks good to me. Jeremy, I don't think I'm taking -10s for midfield drivers. Does feel like a little bit of a risk. I saw a lot of people take -10s for Alonso last week and that backfired. I don't think -10s are worth it unless they're for premium drivers or constructors. What lineup would you run if you did wildcard this week? Oh, I didn't think I answered that before. Probably something like this. Honestly, the only differences I think I'd make would be probably a Racing Bulls. Although, to be fair, I've used my 3X already, so I don't know if Gasly necessarily needs to stay. Like, what can I do? Yeah, the thing is, the drivers I want, I kind of need to have. I need to have a 4.5. Like, I think at this point in the season, depending on your budget, Gasly or Colapinto becomes a necessary evil. But yeah, I'd probably take. I don't know if I think Bortoletto for me would be a sell. I just prefer the flexibility of 3 in Brazil. Red Bull, Ferrari. Yeah, Red Bull. Should we have some exposure to Ferrari? I mean, I do. That's why I've got Leclerc in there. How much RAM does your computer have? I don't know, and I should find that out because it's probably something I need to invest in for next season. We're getting closer to 9,500 subs. That's exciting. Hannah is scared to have Gasly because I have Gasly. Fact. Yeah, Matt, true. 2 Alpines. I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's kind of a decision you need to either accept your fate on or... Look, to be fair, they've been doing enough, right? Gasly and Colapinto. Like, that's kind of what I'd expect these guys to score. As long as they're not DNFing, this is nice. Like, these are scores I'd expect from a $4.5 million asset, to be honest. But yeah, they're really suppressing the DNF factor. 30 minutes, just over 30 minutes until the deadline, and I'm pretty locked on this, so I might get my tweet ready. Age-old question, Mercedes, Ferrari. I think I'm coming around to Ferrari more. If I felt more confident in Russell, I'd probably have him over... Oh, God. Brentford are up 3-1 against Liverpool. Is Ewan suffering from severe head loss on his stream? I hope if anyone's watching Ewan, tell him... I don't know what to say. Oh dear, he's probably losing his mind. If anyone's watching Ewan, tell Rob says Liverpool don't deserve to win the title with performances like this. Go 3x on RAM. I'd go 3x limitless and no negative all on RAM. Jeremy with some absolute love to the chat. Yes, thank you, my mate. Okay, a couple more questions. Sainz or Alonso, I think Sainz for the points. McLaren, Mercedes, or Red Bull, Ferrari. McLaren, Mercedes. I missed the last deadline, Mursky says, and has 3 transfers with Piastri, Russell. I'd move out Piastri and probably downgrade McLaren to Red Bull and upgrade Piastri to like a Verstappen or a Norris. How much RAM? I'll find that out after the stream. Are you locked in on Leclerc? I think so. I mean, let's look at... Am I knee-jerking without really giving this serious thought? Like, Leclerc is half a second off Lando's time today, but there's not much separating George, Charles, Oscar, and Max. And even Kimi, for that matter. I mean, and I don't think Lewis is as good as P2 in practice. I back Charles for a better qualifying result than Lewis. I back Charles for a better qualifying result than Oscar at the moment. But it's close. These are like not even a second separating these 4 guys. 5 guys. It's like a second. Sorry, not a second. It's a tenth separating George down to Kimi. I think Qualifying could honestly go anywhere. I think I'm playing a little bit of the upside of Charles, which is a stupid thing to say because George is just so consistent. You think Mercedes are a must this week? No, but I think for smaller budget teams, they probably are a necessity, or at least some thought. Thiago, yeah. Liverpool carousel season, 100%. This is why Rob's the GOAT. What's GOAT behavior? Thoughts on Norris with Simon's asking thoughts on Norris with either Kimi or Yuki as a differential paired with McLaren Red Bull. I like that team. That was what the Sim said before FP3. I don't mind it. I just don't think it's for me. Max is destroying his boss. These streams help. Better get a raise. Is there a prize pool, Max? Because a lot of mini leagues have like a kind of a monetary benefit at the end of the season. Why not go Verstappen Norris with Ferrari Mercedes? Because that's 4 teams I'm covering, Nico. It's almost like a hedge. I don't want to play a hedge. I want to play all out. I guess maybe not a hedge, but like essentially with that kind of Verstappen Norris Ferrari Mercedes. I mean, no, I'm not gonna go down this path this weekend. Plug in here. Yeah, I'm just short. I would consider this. If I could get to Ferrari, I would consider it. I don't mind it. I think I prefer this lineup for an autopilot. I don't like it for a non-autopilot because I'm not using autopilot this weekend. So that's kind of why I'm like, Lando doesn't feel like a must buy right now when I've got him covered off in the constructor. But I do think he's going to really cook this weekend. So in that case, should I really be thinking something like this? This is 3 transfers though, and I really want to roll one. And it means double Alpine. It's kind of like there's upside, but there's a lot of downside. And I'm confident Max will be good over a single lap with those lower fuel loads. So I'm happy to roll with this, I think. Brentford are terrible, to be honest. Would I take a -10 for Kimi? I would not. George is definitely due a DNF. Agreed. What do I think between Leclerc and Russell? Leclerc, but it's going to be close. Lavin is asking Leclerc Mercedes or Russell Ferrari, keeping Verstappen McLaren. I would go Russell. I really don't know. That's Russell Ferrari, I would say. Yeah. Noah's saying, just got here. How come we're preferring Max to Lando with the race pace sims? I'm preferring Lando to Max, but it doesn't work for my team to have these 2 constructors. So yeah, I back Lando over. I think Lando will win. I'm confident Lando will win this weekend. I mean, that's the thing. It's so like on these sims, right? These are essentially the 2 routes I could go down: the Verstappen, Leclerc, McLaren, Red Bull, or the McLaren, Mercedes, Norris with Hadjar. I'm a bit hungry as well. My stomach's grumbling. So it's team 3 or team 1 is pretty much what I think would work best. Do I go? It's literally half a point in the sims. There's more budget to gain in the team 1 in this number 1 team, but it's not. I'm not going to let that influence me. Norris. See, Max won't win driver of the day. He's in the best car again. When Max is in the best car, he's the best driver. He doesn't win driver of the day. Does Lando win driver of the day because he hasn't had a win in a while? Wait, no, he had a win. When did he last win? When did Lando last win? It wasn't Monza because Max won that. Wait on. Am I losing my mind? When did Lando last win? It wasn't. Yeah, wow. It was Hungary. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, it's been a while. I think this is where Lando rights the ship. I think he wins this weekend. Okay. Hungry. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't seriously remove a team either. Is wildcard reasonable this week? Absolutely, Nicola. Is it worth downgrading Mercedes to Red Bull to afford Tsunoda? Or to RB? No, Mercedes over, yeah. How would you rank Bortoleto, Hadjar, Alonso? I'd go Hadjar, Alonso, Bortoleto, Harry. The battle is about to be between Arsenal, Spurs, City, United, Bournemouth and Sunderland at this rate. Fair. Eric, have a great weekend. I hope you've made your decisions. They're tricky ones this weekend for sure. Is this a good team? Max, Russell, Alonso, Bortoleto, Tsunoda and Mercedes, Ferrari. Yes, absolutely. And then Max Orlando, what was this one? Max Orlando, I said Lando will be the highest scorer, but I think for me, my team is more Max. I didn't see anything on Alonso's car. How about Behrman, Bortoleto? Behrman. Definitely Behrman. But he's he's a bit too much for my budget, unfortunately. Max is too good. Definitely is. Matridox goes Verstappen, Leclerc, McLaren, Mercedes, signs Alonso, Hadjar. Looks good. Yeah, if you're vibing Russell over Leclerc, go for it. I like Russell's consistency, definitely. I didn't get the memo. Why are we subbing Ferrari for Mercedes? Top 4 options on fantasy tools do not have Mercedes. Live pick is 18 to 90% to Ferrari. Do they have a live pick percentage? Interesting. Colapinto or Gasly? Gasly for the budget. Gasly for the points and reliability. Colapinto for the budget. Almost at 9,500. 9,500 subs. Pretty cool. And 200 likes with 550 of you still vibing. What did I don't think anything's going to make me change my decision at this point. But interesting. Rota's stat team is keeping 1.4 in the bank for a potential Verstappen to Norris final fix. McLaren and Mercedes with Verstappen and Leclerc, Alonso, Hadjar and Sainz. Do I go Hadjar? I mean, I've been raving about him all stream. I did say I wouldn't be influenced. What's Hadjar's budget? Bortoleto, 3, Hadjar 12. Yeah, but Hadjar could easily get 12 if he finishes top 6, top 7. We'll see. Yeah, nah, I don't know. I don't think so. Not. Anyone else think Colapinto isn't as crash prone now? Maybe, yeah. He knows his seat's at stake, although it sounds like he will have a seat next year, which I'm not super stoked about. I don't rate Colapinto as a driver at all. Alrighty, we got 20 minutes left and we're done for the afternoon. Is this a definite 2A constructor week or is Williams B tiers possible? It's not. I think it depends on your budget. I think most people by now have got 4A lineup or a double premium constructor lineup. I'm just not sure V-Carb Williams. Williams are not even in the A tier anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's. I still think there's more points upside. More points upside with 2A tier constructors. Agent Omek, McLaren, Verstappen, Leclerc already in the team. Red signs versus Mercedes, Tsunoda. Red signs. McLaren, Mercedes or Red Bull, Ferrari? Oh, tricky decision. McLaren, Mercedes. Behrman or Lawson, Behrman. Norris and Mercedes or Verstappen and Red Bull. No. I say Norris and Mercedes, but I have Verstappen and Red Bull. It's like, make it make sense, Rob. Back to my team. All right, I think I'm going to lock it in. I'll lock this in. Yeah, continue. And look, if I have a burning desire to make a third transfer before the deadline, then I might. Yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm happy with that. All right, that's my team locked. Let me post it on Twitter. So I've got more time this time to react to yeah. No. Manage team. Okay. But yeah, a bit to get through. Why no Ferrari's constructor? I prefer Red Bull. It's cheaper. It also means I can afford Leclerc. Because if I go Ferrari, I can't afford Leclerc. So that's a couple of reasons for that. Yeah. That's my team. Yeah. One transfer left if I need to use it. Would you swap Russell, Leclerc and Sainz Lawson? Yeah, I would do that, Brogan. Mercedes Russell or McLaren Antonelli? McLaren Antonelli, Dreamers Farm. Rob, he's been better than Gasly. He has. He has been better. Colapinto has been better. So, yeah, I think if you're on a wild card, maybe Colapinto is the play over Gasly. I also just prefer Gasly as a driver, so I'd rather root for people I like than drivers I don't. But that's just my 2 cents. All right, get this draft team up. So who's that? Piastri out, Leclerc in, and what's the other one? Mercedes out, Red Bull in. Playing the strengths of Red Bull, Max and Leclerc upside, and what I'm saying, would have preferred Norris, but will reposition team to own him when autopilot is in play. And like also Max is okay. That's posted. Sorry, I know I usually lose a couple of viewers when I post that team because I'm not talking to the camera. So I totally get that. Victoria's asking me to rate the team. Norris, Behrman, Sainz, Bortoleto, Gasly, McLaren, Red Bull. Love the team. Victoria, love the team. Norris will definitely do well this weekend. Would you use wildcard on Max, Norris, Red Bull, Mercedes build? Yep, definitely would. Jeremy's keeping enough budget for the possible Verstappen and Norris final fix time. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't mind that at all. Michael's done with chores. 2x Norris over Verstappen. If you can afford Norris over Verstappen and there's no other compromises you need to make to your team, then I'm always going to go Norris this weekend. Arjun is asking how to use his chips. Autopilot 3x no neg. So Autopilot Vegas, 3x Qatar, no negative Brazil. Is there a live pick percentage? I don't think it's a live pick percentage. These are last week's statistics. I didn't think there's a live pick percentage for F1 fantasy assets. Because you've only got up until the US Grand Prix. Or is it live pick in the statistics page? I doubt it. Like, no. These only update after. To my knowledge, there's no live pick percentage on Fantasy Tools. But keep me honest if that's incorrect. How dare you not talk to the chat every second of the stream? I know, right? Absolute G up of a stream. Time for predictions. We can do predictions. I've already logged them. I always forget to do my F1 predictions. Coca-Cola is in your team 3. Red Bull Mercedes looks good. Global. What are my predictions? Currently have Mercedes, McLaren, Verstappen, Russell in your last 3 with 1.9. I can't find a move that I really like. Ferrari heartache makes me scared of Leclerc. That's fair. That's fair, Frederick. I'm trying to. Yeah, I want to play the upside of Ferrari because they did look good today and yesterday. Leclerc or Russell? Leclerc. Different comic. Norris Mercedes or Max Red Bull? I'm on the Max Red Bull. Thinking of a Norris, Hulk, Alonso, Bortoleto, McLaren and Mercedes build. Not sure what my last B tier driver should be. What would you pick? I'd probably get Hadjar in Noah. I think Hadjar is my pick of the midfield options. If you, oh, hang on, you haven't got Signs in there. I'd probably take Signs. Yeah, no, I'd probably go Signs. Catch you later. Catch you later, mate. I'll message you after the stream. Count. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it as always. Thank you for coming through, brother. Jack's asking Alonso Mercedes or Gasly Red Bull? Gasly Red Bull, because I think Max has a better chance of winning than either Mercedes driver does. Ashley's asking if she has final fix. Or if sorry, Ashley. I think that's a he in the photo. Ashley is asking, I have final fix and a 3x left. Do I use it this race? Save the 3x, and I would only use final fix on potentially Verstappen to Norris, because I think Max will take pole, but I think Lando's got the pace to win. Yeah, so that's a final fix option this weekend, for sure. Stevie has Verstappen, Russell, Bortoleto, Sainz, Colapinto, McLaren, Mercedes. Do you think about Russell, Mercedes to Antonelli, Ferrari, leaving budget for Verstappen to Norris final fix? Yes, very prudent approach, Stevie. Like that a lot. I'm 5 mil less than you. I'm going to have to run Verstappen, Snow to Antonelli, Red Bull. That's fine, Ryan. That's perfectly fine. They were like, that was a highly projected team for this weekend points wise, so I wouldn't stress too much about it. But hang on, we got to do F1 predict. I haven't applied. I applied my 2x chip to the last one. So this is my podium picks for tomorrow. The one I'm least confident in is Oscar. I'd almost put that on Russell or Leclerc instead, but I'm hoping Oscar. He just doesn't look confident. So I really want to say Oscar. He's my favorite. Almost knocked over the microphone. The audio still seems to be working. Let's go Shah, because I want to back my fantasy guy. Pole position Max. I've been talking about that all day. Qualify highest for the Grand Prix. I'm putting Gasly. Actually, let's put Franco, because I think it's pretty even. How many teams will get a car into Q3? Well, the big four, I think Hadjar will be in there, and I think a Williams will be in there. So 6. Don't know if Alonso... should we go 7? No, but then that means like a... Well, hang on. Yeah, I say 6. I think Alonso will finish ahead of everyone else. Oh, so no, I'm going to say Yuki. Who will set the fastest pit stop? Red Bull. Safety car, definitely, I think. Who will set the fastest lap? Lando. Which team will score the more points? Should we gamble? Should we gamble on Ferrari? Will we see a new winner? Yes, I think it'll be Lando. And I put that on that. Back to home. Back to my fantasy team. What about Hamilton instead of Leclerc? Nicholas asks. I think a differential punt. I don't know if Leclerc is... I don't know if Hamilton is... Yeah, I don't think Hamilton's worth it for me. He's looked like quite slow race pace this year. What's the verdict on Colapinto Gasly? It's Colapinto for budget, Gasly for reliability. Bortoleto or Alonso? Kiwako asked. I would say Alonso, but I want to roll a transfer, so that's why I'm not using it on Bortoleto. McLaren Ferrari or McLaren Red Bull? McLaren Red Bull. That's why I've got them. But I'd probably, I think it's tight. I think it's very tight, because in the team calculator, you can see the points are separated by 0.4. And I think the extra 1.3 just means upgrades or owning Leclerc, which I couldn't do if I had Ferrari. If you still have Wildcard and Limitless, what would you recommend? Limitless, probably in Qatar. Wildcard, either now or Maybe on the sprint weekend in Brazil. Yuki or Antonelli with Max or Norris? I go Antonelli between those two, and I'd go Norris between Max and Lando. We're going for Red Bull or Ferrari straight up constructor? Red Bull. Have I missed any other messages earlier? If I've missed your comment or your question in the last 5 minutes, drop it in the chat and I'll respond to it. I think I tried to cover most though. Is Russell to Leclerc worth a -10? No, definitely not. I think it'll be pretty close between the two, assuming no DNFs. Traub is asking, Verstappen, Hamilton, Ferrari, McLaren, or Verstappen, Leclerc, McLaren, Red Bull? Considering I'm on the second one, I'm going to say Verstappen, Leclerc, McLaren, Red Bull. Okay. Aditya doesn't have the budget to get Red Bull, so currently have Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Bortoleto, Albon, and McLaren Racing Bulls. I just think if you can get to 2 premium constructors, Aditya, I'd prefer that over Racing Bulls. I'd probably take out Leclerc and Albon, bring in like a Red Bull or a Mercedes, to be honest. 9 minutes until the deadline. Get those teams locked in. 8 minutes until the deadline. Get those teams locked in. And we're almost at 9,500 subscribers. That would be pretty cool if we hit that mark before the end of the stream. 220 likes as well. So if you're on your way out, please show some love to the video. I think everyone's probably locked in their teams now. I think just checking on the other screen. I will get off my phone. But yeah, what a stream. You know what? I feel like I've been. It's probably because I've been. Oh, Ewan went my same team. Did Ewan go my team as well? Love it. Yes, Ewan. We love it. We absolutely love it. Isn't he streaming? He's replying to me while he's streaming. Okay. What I want, if people are watching Ewan, I tell you what, I'm gonna stay on. We need 2 more subscribers to get 9,500. But if you follow F1 Fantasy Pole Position on YouTube, at the end, or right now, I want you to go over to Ewan's stream and tell Ewan I sent you, because he deserves a lot of love. He's having an absolute blinder of a fantasy season and an absolute blinder of a year for his channel. But yeah, go over to Ewan's page, show some love in the live chat, because F1 Fantasy Pole Position is one of the GOATs. We're 1 subscriber off 9,500. 1 more. Max, we're almost there. Bortoleto and Alonso, or Lawson and Colapinto? Bortoleto and Alonso, Daniel. Wow, we just hit 95, guys. 9,500. That's pretty cool. Next milestone will be 10K, which I think will probably happen next year, which I'm perfectly okay with. I mean, don't get me wrong. An extra. Yeah, thank you everyone in the chat. Love that. Thank you, Adil. Legend. You're a legend. Yeah, 10K would be nice next year. We'll push for that in the off season. But yeah, it's been a pretty cool season so far with subs. And Ewan, as I was saying, is he deserves a lot of love as well. He's done a lot for the community this year. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Max. What else have we got in the chat? Do I copy your team, but instead of Red Bull, I go Mercedes because of budget? Yeah, that's fine. Bobby Frick. Thanks for the stream, Rob. Glad I finally got to make a deadline. Of course, Max. You're always welcome here. You know that. What else have we got? Yeah, Bobby Frick. I think Mercedes is perfectly fine for budget. Michael Marv, McLaren, Red Bull, Antonelli, Max, or -10 to get Norris for Max. I'd just stick with Max. Is Antonelli Tsunoda crazy for 1.36 budget gain, or just go Russell Hadjar? If you're chasing budget, Scotty, then go Antonelli Tsunoda for sure. But I think I prefer Russell Hadjar. And roll. Thoughts on Red Bull, Mercedes, Verstappen, Norris, Sainz, Lawson, Bortoleto, Devon? Yep, like that a lot. Behrman on Bortoleto, Omar's asking. Behrman. No -10 if I'm ranked inside top 100 as a general rule. It depends on your transfers AFV. I think if it's for a premium driver, maybe, or a premium constructor, maybe, because they can definitely kind of claw back that -10 with a fastest lap. It's less easy to justify for a midfield driver because their points upside is much lower. Waldy is asking Verstappen, Leclerc, McLaren, Mercedes, or Norris, Leclerc, McLaren, Mercedes. So it's Norris versus Verstappen, Waldy? I'd say Norris. But I'm guessing with the Verstappen, Leclerc, you've probably got Red Bull instead of Mercedes. I'm leaning on the Verstappen one, but I think it's going to be close this weekend. Should I burn my third transfer to get Leclerc instead of Russell, or keep the third transfer for Brazil? Trauby have the same team. So I misunderstood that, but I thought I missed the deadline for a second. I was like, oh, we've already gone past the deadline, but we've got 3 minutes, so get those teams locked in. Where was that question? I just had that answered. Pulse 736 was asking that. I would keep... I like the upside Leclerc has. Keep the third transfer for Brazil. I'm rolling a transfer for Brazil. I only made 2. To get Leclerc. I don't know if there's much in it between Leclerc and Russell. I think I prefer rolling the transfer pulse. McLaren, Mercedes, or Red Bull, Ferrari, Luca. I think McLaren, Mercedes. Yeah. Well, I think I answered your question, didn't I? The Verstappen lineup for sure. Are Mercedes looking quick today, mate? Haven't been able to tune into practices. Yeah, they're looking solid. I think it's going to be really close between Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull, fantasy wise. They're looking solid for sure. Is it worth a transfer to go Leclerc to Russell? Yeah, I made one. I opted for Leclerc over Russell. Oh, you're right, Miguel. Don't stress, brother. I'm driving back home. We'll share my final team later. I'm in a hurry. Fair enough. All right, deadline in 2 minutes. And then I'm straight out of here. Sonoda or Antonelli? Antonelli, Diego. Sainz or Sonoda? Omar, Sonoda. Should I keep Russell or take a minus? Oh, actually, Sainz, Sonoda. I think Sonoda, but the grid penalty for Sainz, I think, makes it close. You think there's an upside taking a -10 for Lawson into Leclerc? Absolutely. Definitely. If you're going from a B tier to an A tier, I think the -10 is worth it, but it's not going from like one B tier to another. Oh, and Antonelli to Gasly. Right. That's different. No, I wouldn't take the -10. Oh. Hang on. AFN. Upside, if you're doing just Lawson to Leclerc, definitely do the -10. And Antonelli to Gasly, is that worth, or is that I see what you mean. Okay, so it's Russell and Antonelli to Leclerc and Gasly. Anyway, I don't quite, maybe put that in the chat again, AFN, and I'll absolutely answer it. If they're 2 separate transfers or if they're kind of one because of the other. Please don't get me Ferrari, Leclerc. I know, praying for a Leclerc podium this weekend. Ideal scenario would be Oscar, Max, Leclerc. That would be my ideal podium this weekend. Does it happen? No. Alonso Lawson as a third transfer, don't mind it at all. But I think, I don't know, Racing Bulls look fast. Mercedes are solid as always. Like, you can't go wrong with them. They've been pretty good since the European leg. Oh, okay, AFN. So Lawson to Leclerc, but I need Antonelli to Gasly to afford it. I see what you mean. Yeah, I would do that. For sure. Would you hold Bortoleto and save a transfer or upgrade him to Sonoda? I would probably upgrade Bortoleto to Sonoda if it's not for a -10. Steven is looking like he's going Mercedes. He's had a rough couple of weeks, so going for some peace of mind. And I don't mind that at all. -10 for Leclerc versus keeping Russell. Keep Russell. And that's the deadline. Sorry, I missed it. It was, 2-3 minutes ago? Not even, like a minute ago. But that's the deadline, ladies and gentlemen. So lock it in. Last minute. Hopefully I got the answers away in time. But I think, yeah, that's a good one. The team is locked. We had a hiccup on the stream at the start, but teams are locked. That's it. another deadline stream. 2 hours of my Saturday in the books. And yeah, thank you guys for coming through. It's been an absolute banger as always. We have our hiccups. We have our moments with software, but that's my team too. No Ferrari in that one. That'll be interesting. But yeah, it's been another great stream. Lots of decisions, but I always feel like I can talk myself into what lineup I like. Just by talking it out with you guys. So again, appreciate the counsel this last hour or so, last couple of hours or so. But yeah, I'm going to love you and leave you all. Stephen, thank you so much for coming through. Miguel, MD, Will, thank you for dropping through. I hope you guys have made the right decisions for your teams this weekend. I will be back. We've got, 2-week break between now and Brazil? So yeah, I'll be back with my usual slate of content in the lead up to Brazil. I don't know if I'll have a deadline stream because I will be overseas then, but yeah, expect more content. And that was a stream for the books. So, oh dear, my guess we'll just take this part off because this that was not what I meant to do at all. That is it, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it here for now, guys. I'll be back with my usual slate of content for Brazil. And again, as I said, if you're still here, throw a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We hit that 9,500 subscribe goal, which is truly exciting. So thank you for the journey. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now, guys. Good luck with your teams this weekend. Have a great weekend. And I will very much see you very, very soon.